Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and I know this is a stamp set that might have actually subsequently retired. However, I am going to show you a card that I never videoed with this. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but it was a fun card to make. It does use a little bit of masking, and this is it. So we used some Coastal Cabana up top, and then this is actually a combination of basic beige and crumb cake, but I think I'm going to leave out the beige and just do crumb cake and maybe a little bit of a yellow of sorts for this one. Also, I think I'm going to change around some of the surfboard stuff, but it's a pretty simple card. Does a little masking. Maybe you'll do a better job of gluing yours straight because I was sitting down, and apparently I cannot glue anything when I'm sitting down. So, crazy fact. So, to make this card, we're going to start with a piece for the background. This is Coastal Cabana, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I do also have a white panel for the inside, so we're just going to set that on the side for now. And then I have a layer. This is basic gray. No, gray granite. This is gray granite. No, it's not. It's smoky slate. I'm sorry, I take that back. This measures 4 by 5 1/4. It's just going to layer. And then I have a little scrap piece for the cut out lifeguard house there. And then I also have a piece that is just a little bit smaller. This is 3 3/4 by 5, and this is what we're going to do our masking on. So we're going to do that part first. And I've actually masked with this. Let me see, what do I think I can use here? I want to tape this down, but at the same time I don't. I think I'm just going to tape it to the glass mat, and then we'll tape the rest of it, because you can use a sticky mat, but I took mine off. So we really only need to have this one square here. So I'm just going to tape it down, and we'll hope that everything works out for the best. So, oops, not crooked, Rach. Keep it together. So again, I'm not really sure how I missed making this card, but this is actually one that I used these pieces over on many times. So this is just a mask that I created. Actually, this used, if you can see in there, you can see stitching. So this used the stitch shapes, maybe it is, I can't remember, but anyway, I just cut out a square, and then I'm going to kind of do my best to just line this up and hope that it's straight. That is going to be the biggest thing. So I would say if you don't know if this is or isn't straight, maybe what you should do is to tape the background piece to the front so you know that it's straight. We're going to just wing it, and we'll see what happens. That's just kind of what I do sometimes here. So I have 2 blender brushes. The first one does have Coastal Cabana ink on it already. So sometimes what I'll do before I start is I'll just go over the top. That's going to be the sky. Definitely going to need some more ink. This one does have basic beige, which I am going to cut out of that, so I'm not going to use that. But this probably has some ink in it, but it's most likely pretty light ink. So I'm going to just go across the bottom. Then I'm going to bring out a little bit of crumb cake, and I want to see if I can put maybe a little bit of yellow for the sand. We need like some sort of a beach color. That would be a good idea. So I didn't really put a lot of ink on that. That was crumb cake. And just going to go across the bottom. Crumb cake, since this is a linen pad, is pretty light. Well, mine is anyway. So I'm going to leave that. That was crumb cake. And then I'm going to add just a teeny touch of pecan pie. But I'm going to do one other thing first. Since I'm going from brown to brown, that's why I'm going to use this. But I want to grab a yellow. Let's see if I can find something that's yellowish. I'm going to go with, I think, a really light, just a light brushing of Daffodil Delight. So saffron would be really good because that's a really light yellow. So this is a different brush. I think I got this from the dollar store. So I'm just going to add a little bit of color, and then just a teeny bit of yellow. You really can't even see the yellow probably on the camera, but in person it worked pretty well. So that was Daffodil Delight. And then finally, let me just bring this up just a smidge. Finally, I'm going to add in just a little bit of pecan pie. And what I'm going to do is, instead of rubbing, I'm going to just tap, because then you'll get like that kind of grainy look for the sand. That'll be good enough. I don't want to do anything more than that because I don't want it to be dark. And then I'm going to move this on the side. I'm going to go back in now with my Coastal Cabana. Now, I did also keep all of these colors out because you could change the color that you do the accents on your house if you wanted to. And also, just a sidebar, if you end up with some white spots, it kind of makes it look a little bit more like clouds. So white spots are necessarily a good thing because it almost, since I'm finished with this part, I'm going to show you. It almost mimics what a cloud would look like. Hopefully this is straight. It's a teeny bit crooked, but that's okay. Put that back there. And I just want to lift this up so you can see what I'm talking about. And a lot of times I will use these worn out pieces of washi tape here because they stick better. But if you can see, it almost looks like there's clouds in there. It's a little bit off, but it's okay. We're going to work with it. So this is going to get glued here. That's going to be that piece. But in the meantime, we're just going to bring this in, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to tape this down. So what we can do is we're going to stamp our lifeguard stand, and then we can also stamp the surfboard one there. That will fit as well. So I'm going to do these. Oh, see, I do this and then they get stuck together. These photopolymer stamps are crazy. So I'm going to do this with Memento. So I did clean off my stamp. It probably doesn't really look like it. Oh, that's VersaFine. That's not what I said I wanted. We're going to do this with Memento. So I'm going to just ink up the stamp. Now, doing this with Memento, you could also do Stampin' Blends if you wanted to. And since you are cutting this out, it doesn't matter. It's not going to go through. So you could do that too. Now, I don't have a base underneath of this, which normally when you stamp with photopolymer, you want to stamp onto something squishy. If you do end up going for something like this, this is a stamping, it's a very large piece of photopolymer. You can stamp on this. You can do lots of stuff on it. This is from, what's the name of this company again? I always forget. Waffle Flower. So they do have these grip mats. You can put the grid underneath if you're trying to line stuff up. They're really, really super awesome, but I just took mine off. So if you stamped on that, you would definitely get a great image. But that looks pretty good. This is a little mucky here, but it probably was a little goopy when I stamped it. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to just grab the surfboard. And we'll see if we can fit. I don't know if we'll be able to fit two. We might. See if I can squeeze this in. We are going to die cut our lifeguard stand. Yeah, so that should be good. And then we are going to color. I do still have the sentiment. I actually did the sentiment with VersaFine because it's a really deep dark ink. But in the meantime, we're going to do our coloring. So what I did is I used Poppy Parade for the flag, and I'll bring this over so you can see it. But you can change it up. I used Coastal Cabana for the lifeguard stand. I thought instead of doing gray, so I used Smoky Slate. What I think I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do Pecan Pie just to give more like a brown, rustic kind of look to it. So it looks like old weathered wood instead of, I guess, gray. I did use Night of Navy for the little posts. Again, you could do white. I did Timid Tiger, and what was the other color I used? Balmy Blue for the two surfboards, but I'm not going to do Balmy Blue because I don't really think it popped enough. So to get started, what I have is I have a scrap of paper, first of all, and I have a blender brush. So this would be a great thing, actually, since they are going to be retiring the Stampin' Write markers, to use these instead. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that I am mostly in the screen up here. And we're going to color this in. So what you do is when you have, just get a little scrap of paper so you can see. When you have these blender pens, you can basically use one pen for multiple things. So just to show you, this tip is, I did not clean this out when I was done. This was me using the rest of the navy. So all you do is you just keep scribbling. Whoop. Don't pop the cap off. You keep scribbling until it's clear, and then you can use it again. So I'm going to move this here so you can see. That'll be my scribble. So I'm going to get Poppy Parade, and hopefully this is dry. We're going to just do the flag. I tend to start at the shaded part, so wherever I want darker, and then we'll just bleed it up. So if you want this to be a lot lighter, you just kind of scribble, and then you just bring the color up, so it makes it a little bit lighter. I'm also going to do the life ring. So I'm just kind of picking the side that I want to be darker. And then I'll just bleed out the color. And the rest of it will stay white. So there's that. Close that one up. I said I was going to do a surfboard in Timid Tiger. So I'll just do that. Since this is going from red to orange, I'm not really going to worry about cleaning it so much. I'm going to just start at the bottom. So I would have like a gradient or an ombre effect of the color washing out, and just bring it up lighter as I go. So there's that. Same thing again. And I'm just going to start at the bottom again and just kind of pull the color. I try not to color on the black ink because I find that sometimes, even though it might be dry, it will muddy up your color. So I usually try to stick with not using that. So if we're not using not Misty Moonlight, it was Balmy Blue. What would another great color be? I would think maybe like something bright. So I'm going to pick Petunia because that's a pretty bright color. Let me just get a little ink. So we have a little bit of ink there. And same thing, we're going to a darker color. So I'm just going to pick up the ink here. And I apologize, this is going to be now from the bottom to the top, so I'll try to keep my hand out of it, but we're going to go bottom. And I'm going to, since I kind of have a deep color there, I'm going to bring the bottom of this one as well. And then we're just going to fade as we go up. And I'm going to bring just a little bit more. There we go. So I think that's pretty good. Hopefully it'll end up looking good. Time will tell. Then I'm going to just clean off my brush again, and it's pretty much already clean. So now we're going to go with the pecan pie. Let me just get, so if you can't squeeze this, the other thing you could do, I didn't close it all the way, is use your ink refill and just put a drop in there. That's another good way to do it. But basically what we're going to do here, move these over, is same thing. I'm just taking my brown and I'm going to color in what I would assume would be like the wood portion. So I'm going with like the bottom, the connecting posts, and maybe I might do the house portion. We'll see. But we're going to start darker and kind of fade. And I did wear my glasses this time when I did this one as opposed to earlier, and I was kind of going outside of the lines, but this had a die set with it, so luckily it should be okay. Underneath here, I'll put this a little bit darker, and you can always pick up from the pad too if you want it really dark. I'll wipe that off just a little, and then I'm going to do the connecting. They don't really even have to fully be brown because then they kind of look like that weathered beach. And I will show you guys this before we go through. There's one in the middle here. And we'll do just a little bit on the underside here. So you could also do this as a really bright house if you wanted to. Kind of like the ones that are in Miami Beach. So it's a little bit more exciting. So this center portion will get cut out with the die. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the edge here. And I think what I might do is, earlier I did with navy and gray, but I think I'm going to do navy and Coastal Cabana because Coastal Cabana is still pretty bright. So I'm going to go with navy first. And I am not 100% sure, but I think these pens are glycerin. So they do work really, really well for a good long time. They come in a 3-pack, but the only reason I have more than 3 is if I have a black or white, I don't use those for anything else except for black and white, whereas the colors, you can just clean the rest of them off. We're going to go here, and I'm going to just fill in the center of this with some Coastal Cabana. So navy for that, and I'm going to do navy for the top here as well. maybe we'll do the main part of the house. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that. We're going to do the main part of the house in the Coastal Cabana. The rest of this stuff we will do in navy, and hopefully it'll have a nice contrast with the pecan pie. Okay, so that looks good. And get that out of the way. So same thing. So I'm still using this one same tip. You totally could switch if you wanted to. You could buy lots of these so you have many, but not really a need. All right, and I did put some Rachthestamper in this because earlier it was kind of running out on me. So we'll see how, I don't want this to be super, super dark, but we have our little lifeguard shack. I'm just trying not to be too dark, especially because there's a number here. Lifeguard shack number 27. I wonder what that means. It's got to have some significance in something. And I'm going to make this dark. Okay. Guess I might as well color this a little bit in. I don't know what that part is even supposed to be. Maybe, who knows? It's okay. It's colored. And when you do these, the nice part about these blender pens is you can add them in layers. But I will say you do need to be a little bit careful depending on the white that you work with, because you can work them so much that you end up with pills, which are like the little things that you would get on your sweater. So the paper will pill if it's overworked. So if you're doing this with watercolor paper, you probably have a lot more flexibility, but with this, even just the thick white, sometimes it's a little bit too much. So I think that looks pretty good. If you wanted to, you could even add like some little bit of a design on your surfboard. Let's see if we'll try that again. And I hadn't thought of that before, but we'll give that a shot. Just have some little dots here. Or maybe you could do like a wave. Some kind of pattern or something. All right, so we're going to call it quits for that part. The only other thing we have to do is we do need to do a little bit of die cutting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to just turn it. I'm kind of turning it in circles, and that's it. Put the cap on it and done. Even though it's stained, and this is the other side, because sometimes I am not very good about cleaning my stuff out. Really, it's quite lazy. But once you clean it off, it's completely clear, and then you could use either one of these for either. However, again, if I do use black, I have one that has a black and a white end, because those are much, much harder to get off of the tip. Probably if you use a really dark brown, I would imagine maybe it would be the same as well, but they're really not that expensive. So I'm going to just hold this up so you can see what this looks like up close. So we're going to die cut this. These do have dies, but they're really so easy that I'm going to just cut them out with my snips. So I'm going to pop this off, and I'll trim those up in a second. And this I'm going to just run through my die cut. This has, this isn't available, I don't think any longer, but if you got your hands on it and used, has a lot of components. You can do the little fences, you could do the lifeguard house and build it yourself. It has a lot of other really fun stuff that you can use as well. And again, when I used the mask for this probably made at least 8 cards. So the cool part is if you do that, you can use it for a lot. So what I'm going to do is I typically line up my die. So I'll look for the biggest part, and then I kind of move it up and around until I can tell that everything looks like it's in mostly the same spot. And then I usually take a piece of washi and I just tape it down. So all I have to do is cut this one out, cut the other ones by hand, and then we'll put this together. Pretty simple card. This could be a great cheer me up card for somebody who maybe suffers from the winter blues, or maybe just someone who needs a beach day, even if it's coming in a card. I can add a little gift card, but you can see it does cut all these parts out. It does cut out the window, so it's really very cute. I like this stamp set a lot. Again, even though I know I'm always dissing the photopolymer, but there are some where I really, really like it. So now I'm going to just grab my paper snips and I'm just going to trim this. And I did pop the lifeguard stand up on dimensionals. That's up to you. You don't have to do that. I kind of thought it was a little bit more fun. But one thing I will say, had I thought about it, I probably would have been a little bit more strategic, and I'll show you in a minute. And I would have glued the surfboards down in the background prior to putting the lifeguard stand down. So I actually put this part down first and then I fiddled these in. But I think had I thought about it, I might have leaned one and put one sideways in the background. So we might try that. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to glue these together. And I'm going to try to glue them more straight as opposed to what I did last time. I don't know. I wasn't even doing anything that I wasn't concentrating, but I guess I was not in the right perspective. So see if we can stick these on straight. That looks good. So what I did is I kind of lined this up and then I was like, oh, I'm going to put dimensionals on it. But I should have put these in the background if I wanted to do it first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some dimensionals here. We're also going to add our sentiment to the front and then we will put the lifeguard stand down. I did put a little one on top of the flag. Just a, oh, here's a perfect piece. Just a little piece. I also put a really little piece here in the center. Just like that. It's probably about good. It was a little bit see-through. If you flip this over, you can see a teeny bit of it, but it was so small I really didn't think anybody would notice. So let me just grab one more. We just need a couple more dimensionals. One over here. And then what I ended up doing was I just put a little bit of glue on the bottom and I glued them. So looking first before we do anything else, because we are going to add our sentiment. So if we add our beach house here, we probably want to put our sentiment somewhere right here. So I'm going to just go with that. I'm going to ink this up. Where's my VersaFine? I'm going to ink this up and I'm going to stand up and stamp this and then we'll put the rest of it down. Okay, I'm going to move this guy out of the way. Awesome. VersaFine is the best, most detailed black I've ever found. I love it. Okay, so then we have this here. So if we're thinking, we could probably put like a surfboard, like maybe one of them hidden underneath, maybe one in the back. I don't know. Do we even like it that way? Maybe it's just great the way it is. We could put this one like it's back there. Yeah, I think I'm just going to stand one up and put the other one in the back. And put this one over here. So that one might be covered just a smidge. And this one can go in the back. Okay, and then for this, all you have to do is take off all your backing. And then the only thing we have to do is glue this to our base card. So you may or may not be able to find this, depending on when you're watching this video. You might be able to find this stamp set on a buy, sell, or trade page if they're still available. I know a lot of people really like this, but sometimes when you get to the point, some people will buy new stuff and they won't use their old stuff anymore. So there's probably a pretty good chance you could find this somewhere. Looks pretty good. Right there. Move all these off. And then the only thing we have to do is just add some glue. I'm going to glue this to our base. Again, I do have a panel for the inside, 4 by 5 1/4. And what that will do is give you somewhere where you can write on the inside. But I typically leave mine blank until I'm really ready. Okay. Perfect. All right, so now I'm just going to crease this with my bone folder. And then the only other thing you have to do is when you're ready, you're going to add this inside. And then you can put your message on there. But a pretty cool card, I think. I think this was really a lot of fun to make. You could also personalize this if you have somebody that you know, even if you have somebody who has a beach house and you wanted to send, or somebody that got a beach house, that would be pretty cool. You could send them a welcome to the beach house card. Welcome to the beach house club card. That would be pretty fun. I would love to have someone welcome me to a beach house. So if you know anybody that's looking for somebody to make cards and come to their beach house, let me know. I would love to come there. Just kidding. That or the other places, if you have somebody that needs a friend to go with them to Disney, I would totally be all over that. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video today. Hopefully you learned something new with your techniques, maybe with the blender pens, which are, again, they come in a 3-pack. I don't think I do even have 3. Look, here are some of the ones that are, some are so just roughed up, but they still work really, really well. And then what I do is I'll just put like a label and I'll put black and white for those specific inks. But they do come with 3 in a pack, so you'll get 6 different tips. So you could have one for like light colors, medium colors, dark colors, something like that. I hope you enjoyed this today and you learned something new. I would love if you would like, subscribe, follow, and share this with your friends. If you haven't already, I would love for you to give me a follow. Free ways to support me are liking, subscribing, following, sharing, commenting. All of those things are completely free to you and help me to be seen. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get any of the products that are still available or anything else, you can check all the information down below. That will give you all the measurements and the link to the blog post with all the measurements. And if this is available, I'll link it. If not, I'll link something that is similar-ish in the Stampin' Up! Online store. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day.